Before we dive into Havisham, a thing about the structure, we noticed a lot of enjambment, such as "Who did this to me?" "Love's hate." We think that this shows or symbolizes how not only how her groom left her hanging at the altar, but how she continuously hangs on to the idea of her being married and her ruminations, which rumination over lost love seems to be a theme of this poem. Okay, so diving into the first stanza, we have beloved, sweetheart, bastard. Now, obviously, there's a huge contrast between sweetheart and bastard, some juxtaposition, it suddenly goes from these nice, obviously nice words to this insult, which can be reminiscent of the suddenness of how her feelings toward him changed. 1 second she was about to get married to him, the next second he was a bastard because he left her and she found out. Also, we said that this could be a tricolon, beloved, sweetheart, bastard. And this being the key term here. Not a day since then I haven't wished him dead, prayed for it so hard I've dark green pebbles for eyes, ropes on the back of my hands I could strangle with. So for this dark green pebbles for eyes, it's this very, obviously the color green is associated with envy, but I think here it's more about her turning into some sort of inhuman monster. And pebbles obviously is stones, like she is frozen like a stone, because when that happened she never really moved on. Also, the ropes on the backs of my hands, we said could be rosaries, is what the ropes are referring to. Like when you pray, you use a rosary, and obviously the rosary double as the ropes that she would like to strangle her lost lover with. Okay, on to the next stanza. So we have this spinster word. It sounds like spit, because it's a dirty word, it's a derogatory term. That's what she believes that everyone thinks of her as, and of course she hates her groom, or who would have been her groom, because he made her this spinster, this dirty word, this dirty person. I stink and remember. Spinster and stink are linked together because they have that sk. Whole days in bed cawing no at the wall, the dress yellowing, trembling if I open the wardrobe. So the dress is yellowing, which gives us the impression that she has spent a lot of time, and whole days also helps us get the impression that she's spent days and days and a long period of time ruminating on this event. Also, trembling if I open the wardrobe, the slewed mirror full length, her, myself, who did this to me. So she's the one trembling if I open the wardrobe, is what we've believed. Slewed mirror. Slewed is an interesting word to use here because it means violently thrown. So this could have symbolized maybe the violent nature of her emotions, the intensity of her emotions, or the violence she feels toward her groom. So the mirror full length, her, myself, who did this to me. So she's looking in the mirror here at her whole self, it's full length, and she's seeing, she's almost, it's almost like her is this other person, irrecognizable from who she used to be, before this happened and before she ruminated on all of this. And again, here's the enjambment that shows she keeps hanging on. Okay, and so in the next stanza, we have puce curses that are sounds, not words. So puce is like a really dark reddish brown color, and so it's also, so we said, so color, this color is the color of maybe things, almost, it's actually the color of blood once it is old. Blood starts to turn that brownish, dark brownish color. So perhaps it was literally how he, or like her passion for him was like destroyed, or he hurt her, I guess, and so the blood and over time, because she's ruminating, is turned into this really brownish color. So this, what's once used to be red love, is now puce. And puce curses that are sounds, not words. We again thought that that it's sounds, not words, because over time, when you say things over and over and over again, they become just sounds and without meaning. And also perhaps maybe she's referring to yeah, never mind. Okay. So then she goes into this sort of sex dream. Some nights better, the lost body over me, my fluent tongue in its mouth, in its ear, then down till I suddenly bite awake. So we have this imagery, obviously. It's interesting here because the curses are sounds, not words, and then, but when she has this dream, her tongue is fluent. And we said perhaps fluent was used as a descriptor here because it's something that she does a lot, so she's obviously very practiced. Like if you practice a language, you become fluent in it. So this is like a reoccurring thing that happens a lot. And there's also this run-on sentence. There's no punctuation in its mouth. There's no comma here or here. And so we said that that's because it's almost like building the tension till she suddenly bites awake. And that could be like, the bite here could be like orgasm. And then we have love's hate, which is an oxymoron, behind a white veil. So we interpreted this line, or this word in this part of the line, in different ways. We said that maybe from her point of view, the hate lies, or his source of her hate is lying behind a white veil, and love is what she sees at first. And we also thought of it interpreting as her own, the veil being her own, and yeah, no, that doesn't make sense either. Okay. So moving on, we have a red balloon bursting in my face. Red is obviously a color of passion. A balloon is almost obnoxious. It takes up a lot of space. So this love is very big and very passionate. Bursting in my face. We have an alliteration here. Balloon bursting in my face. And obviously, if you've ever had a balloon burst, it's very sudden, very violent. Just like how her lover jilting her at the altar was very sudden and wasn't expected. And then you have this bang here, which further iterates, its onomatopoeia further iterates reiterates, that's not the right word, but it further carries the idea that it was something very sudden, and bang is, could be like the bang of a gunshot, which is very violent, and, brings up images of like death and killing and even suicide, perhaps. I stabbed at a wedding cake. There we have more violent imagery. It's a very symbolic action. I stabbed at a wedding cake. And so this next line is, give me a male corpse for a long, slow honeymoon. It's very ironic, because a honeymoon is supposed to be, happy, wonderful, lots of love and love making. And she asked for a male corpse, a dead body, for a long and slow. And honestly, you would think for a long and slow, you would think that a word such as like death would follow, to be honest. A long, slow death, or like, so she's being very bitter and ironic in this line. Or perhaps she's wishing that she dies. And obviously this part connects to her sex dream earlier. Just because it has to do with like sex and stuff. But instead in here, when it was some imaginary live person, it's a male corpse. And then the last line is, don't think it's only the heart that breaks. So obviously we have this sound, which could be reminiscent of her sobbing, or it could be a heartbeat, like breaks, and the heart breaks, so it's beating and then it breaks. Or it could be or it could be just her like sobbing, babbling like a baby. So yeah, and then some things that we noticed throughout the poem was like that up, and maybe in this stanza, she's very reflective. Actually, well, throughout she's very, so she's very reflective from this first stanza. Not a day since then, talking about then. Whole days in bed, I stink and remember. So she's being very reflective of this. And then actually she's reflective up until, because some nights are better, so she's describing her nights, blah blah blah. Then she's describing what she did on that night, or what happened that night. A red balloon bursting, bang, I stabbed at a wedding cake. This could actually be literally what she did on that night. And then here is where the tone shifts. Again, is a big tone shift in the poem. She's being direct. Give me a male corpse. And then do not think. She's telling us, do not think. It is only the heart that breaks. So that's an interesting change in the poem. And, yeah. I don't know.